On three, we'll clap. So 1, 2, 3. Hello and welcome to the Health Tech Glow Up. I'm Nathan C. And today I'm talking with Bilal Muhsin from BD. Bilal, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing. So first off, could you please introduce yourself and the work that you do at BD?
Sure. My name is Bilal Muhsin. I head a segment at BD called Connected Care that has under a few business units, everything from pharmacy automation to drug dispensing and infusion and also monitoring.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Great.
Exactly. Bringing
Amazing.
all that together.
Amazing. So Bilal, specifically at health, from that connected care perspective, what are the kinds of conversations that you're looking to have?
Yeah. So what's exciting at Health is we actually launched a new platform.
Amazing.
BD Incada. The platform has a vision of going beyond what people think about connectivity today and truly creating a connection, an insightful connection. It's really about patient centricity and focusing on how we can improve outcomes for patients. So we're leveraging our footprint today in hospitals with what we have from what we talked about, like pharmacy automation, infusion and dispensing, all the way to monitoring, and now bringing that into a complete new ecosystem and making everything smarter, not individually as individual products and solutions, but all together. So now we can actually see what's happening to the patient at the same time we're infusing drugs into them or dispensing drugs into them and hopefully improve healthcare outcomes for them.
What are the kinds of outcomes that you're focused on through these kinds of connected care around medications and dispensing?
Yeah, so look, medication management and dispensing become really critical when you're dealing with patients, right? It's really about safety for those patients. It's really about predicting where they're going to go. If you're reacting, you're just getting tons of alarms, and now the patient's in a difficult situation. If we can change that into a predictive model and add decision support logic to that, we can prevent things from happening to patients or recommend things to clinicians early on, way before alarms go off and certain conditions, deterioration occurs on patients. So that's what we're excited about, right? About that vision. But it's going to go beyond that, right? It's actually going to go all the way to now that we have all these solutions communicating with each other, they can actually close the loop, right? Why do we need somebody in between it all? We need it in the beginning, right? Because we want to feel safe, just like in self-driving cars and so on. We want to feel like it's there. But once it's there, hopefully it proves that it can allow clinicians to focus on the patient where they need to be, not on all the devices that are connected to them. And hopefully you can set up the therapy now and drive a solution all the way through.
Amazing. The idea of trust and safety, especially in this era when there's a lot of focus on disruption, right? Like workforce is overtaxed, patients aren't getting the care they need. There's all these demands. And so to automate, to make more efficient, to speed things up, there's this big push. But at the same time, right, like unlike Silicon Valley innovation, when you move fast and break things, it's real people's lives. How do you balance and what's your approach being such a gigantic presence in the world? How do you approach safety in the sort of, some of the things you're pushing toward are like personalized care or localized care and like balancing like safety at a global level and personalized care.
So unlike tech companies, it's actually part of our DNA, right?
Okay.
So when we come to develop any algorithms or even when we allow AI to develop things, we're not treating it like a black box.
Yeah.
Right? We're not going to just throw data at it and just say, okay, here's what the AI algorithm is telling us to do. Yeah. Right? We base everything on what we understand on the physiological model of the patient. We understand what the limitations are, how certain behaviors should be. We're actually digging deep into the clinician's mind to see how they actually look at patients. And we translate that now into a model, and we allow AI to play within that model, but not take over the entire model per se. So we do a lot of these things, and where we come to now feeding our model a ton of data and seeing how it can drive outcomes. And then we test it, we validate it, but then we lock it, right, in some sense. And then that's what we launch. It's not to say that we're not learning. We can take a lot of this data back and truly learn, but we don't do it in real time necessarily. So we take it offline to learn and we bring it back and reintroduce it as something that is a little bit more robust and something that is fully validated before it touches the patient.
That fully validated before you go to the customer is like so common sense in your world. And it's like something I have to advocate for in mine. As we got deep into your work at BD, some of that mission and even like some of that global reach. I'm curious, Bilal, every innovator starts somewhere. What's your origin story? What got you so excited about automation, AI, and outcomes?
So, look, I come from a Middle Eastern background, and growing up in a household like that, we only have two choices. You can either be an engineer or a doctor. There isn't a third. I was better at math, so I chose engineering. And I was lucky. I graduated and I got an internship about a monitoring company. And the first time I got to walk into a hospital was out in Philadelphia. And a nurse saw my badge and saw me, look lost, basically. And she pulled me aside and walked me into a NICU. And I walked into that NICU. She picked up a baby that fit into the palm of her hands, not mine. And it had the sensor that the company produced. And she said, what you do saves these babies' lives. And for me, that was like, wow. I've always liked tech. I've always liked technology. And then seeing what impact it could have on these babies' lives and on overall people's lives, I was just drawn to it from that point forward. I knew this is what I wanted to do forever.
As somebody who is passionate about the space, has known for quite a while that that's where you want to be, you've seen trends and hype and maybe even bubbles, paradigm shifts happen. We talk about blow-ups on the show as transformation, as a way to look at goals and having a vision. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what is the vision, what is the glow-up you want to see happen in healthcare in the next 6 months to a year?
Yeah. I look back and I remember when servers and just getting devices connected onto the hospital Wi-Fi was such a big deal. And I think every CIO or CTO in the hospital really didn't want that and said, hey, we can't have healthcare devices being connected to our network. And they finally overcame that, right? And now today they talk about having cloud data and having AI and moving forward. And there's some people still challenged with it today. But what they need to recognize is today, patients are a lot more knowledgeable about their health. They use tools that are personalized to them today. It's fast, it's quick. And if we don't, as a healthcare ecosystem, follow that, we will not be able to serve these patients in the future. So I think that's something we need to focus on and make sure we get ahead of.
Yeah, there's definitely a trend of like, well, if the end users, whether those are doctors or nurses or patients or caregivers, are using these tools and it's part of their stack for managing their healthcare, not having something that's totally uncontrolled and wild, wild west, having something that fits with those systems,
Right at the end of the day.
I had to spend some time caring for family in the hospital. And what I noticed was the medical devices in her room were not Steve Jobs Forges, but they were incredibly focused and effective, usually at one thing. Even the really difficult things would have a big green circle and a big red stop and an up arrow and a down. And there would be like 4 buttons on a thing that was keeping my family alive. And it was such a reminder that user experience and context matter so much when you're using technology at all. And when it is a life-saving moment, it needs to be reliable. It needs to not cause infection. Just to see what it takes to make a purpose-built, safe, trustworthy, sanitary, right? The number of things that all kind of point back to user experience is crucial to enabling the technology to work. Was so on display.
And I think what we're talking about today is now, elevating the products and solutions and reducing the complexity.
Yeah.
Right? Because when clinicians are coming and they're dealing with 4 or 5 different unique products and trying to manage a patient care through these buttons that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And these interfaces, if these things can talk to each other, the amount of button presses or even what needs to be displayed can now be more, instead of a red big button, it could be pure English of what's going on, right? And what needs to happen next.
Yeah.
And that's where we need to head with health tech. And that will also enable us to go beyond the clinician in terms of communication, but also to the patient, which is extremely important. As they become more educated about their health, they're part of this journey. Their family is part of this journey. If you were in that hospital room and instead of looking at these devices and fearing them in some sense because they're all beeping, they're all alarming, they all look like they're pretty ancient in some sense. But instead, is if you were looking at them and you were seeing, not necessarily numbers, but a true evaluation of what is occurring. This person, you're stable. Or if it's not stable, here in plain English, this is what's happening to them. It also allows you now, which you become part of the care. It says, hey, okay, this is what I need to care for when I'm dealing with my loved ones in hospitals, right? And eventually it'll all the way come to the home. And we need to differentiate between tech devices at home that you can play with, you can enjoy during your run or during your sleep patterns and stuff like that are helpful, right? But I think there'll be a big differentiation when they become critical, right? And that's where we want to make sure there's a differentiation there. Patients and people need to be aware of that and need to treat it differently and need to adhere to it differently. And hopefully we see outcomes from out of it differently.
Yeah. Thank you. That's amazing. You mentioned something that connected devices, right, makes these jobs easier. And as one of the largest manufacturers of devices, BD kind of has an interesting differentiator, which is you understand how all the devices work, or many of the devices work. There's kind of two different ways, there might be more, but in my brain right now, there's two different ways that you can kind of approach that knowledge. One is to have a proprietary system that's only BD tools or prioritizes. It's kind of like what Apple does. And then there's also the sort of standards route. How do you approach those decisions? And does BD have a preference?
So look, we have to be patient-centric.
Yep.
Right? So we're trying to solve the problem for the patient.
Yeah.
And the outcomes for that patient. Whether we do it with our own tools and devices, and we can accomplish that, but we also need to work within the ecosystem. We need to figure out if we need a partner. We also do acquisitions with our guys. We need to solve the problem at the end of the day. We're going to take an initial approach with the products that we already have out there that are pretty ubiquitously used today. And we're going to try to solve as much as we can. But we're going to hit a roadblock. And eventually when you're a roadblock, we're going to need partners and others to come into that ecosystem because we're here to serve that patient at the end of the day.
I love that answer. The part in the middle where you're like, we're going to encounter roadblocks, and that those are the moments where we will learn and adapt. And so I think is often in innovation, the roadblocks feel like failure. But for you, it's like an opportunity to ask for help, an opportunity to grow, to expand. And I feel like that's what some leadership experience brings to that. So bravo. Amazing. I know you have a flight soon. So the theme for the show is heroes and legends. And I'm using this as an opportunity to talk about the mentors, the educators, the coaches who have impacted just innovative leaders' careers and their journeys. How have coaches or mentors or heroes, legends impacted your journey?
Yeah, I've been very fortunate, honestly. I've been surrounded by smarter people than me the whole time. They led me towards a path where my curiosity is what drove what I wanted to do. When I was an engineer writing code, I wanted to know how the data was actually getting from point A to point B. And I had a lot of mentors within the engineering team leaders that said, hey, go figure it out. And that's how initially in my other company, we went from being an embedded device provider to becoming a solution provider. That was my first experience of going to beyond kind of coding to more of a product, platform, and solution. And then I had the trust of all the way up to the CEO where they saw something in me. They took me to customers. And that was a massive learning experience for me. I saw how my former CEO would interact with customers. And it's not about walking in with a bag of trying to sell something. When you're dealing with customers, you got to do a lot more listening than you're doing selling. And that's where innovation really occurs. I learned that, and I really appreciated those knowledge. And I'm fortunate today with Tom Pullen at VD and his way of approach, having no fear and looking at saying, hey, where are our plans? Where's healthcare going in the next 5 to 10 years? And well, your responsibility is to guide us there, right? So allowing me to work in an environment that is so truly open and looking at innovation and looking at all ways of solving it, whether it's with our own products or with others. So I've been fortunate to be led by true leaders throughout. Leadership isn't always at the top, by the way. You have those leaders that kind of guide you, but there's leadership at all levels that really support you and lift you up as you go about your career. And I'm fortunate to have leaders that have helped me throughout my journey.
You can't do big things alone, right?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Several conversations around mentors have centered on this, like, this person gave me a project to go research. This person gave me, right, like the trust to go build an application. This person like connected me with things that I didn't even know I was interested in yet. And like that early seed is just, it's such a magical question. Okay, perfect. I love it. Thank you. Bilal Muhsin of BD, thank you so much for joining me on the Health Tech Glow Up. There's one last thing to do.
So pleasure.
Let's clap it up. 1, 2, 3. Amazing.
Thank you
so much. Yes.
Thank you.
I'll tell you one thing that we're really good at as Americans. We can shop online. So why can't I get my prescription, look at it, shop, and then select where I want it built?
And 1, 2, 3. Hi, I'm Nathan, and this is the Health Tech Glow Up live from Health 2025. Today, I have a very special guest. I'm talking with Lathe Bigler of FDB Vela. So good to meet you, Lathe.
Thank you, Nathan.
Welcome to the Health Tech Glow Up.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's exciting.
First off, could you introduce yourself and the work that you do?
Lathe Bigler, I'm with FDB. I run the FDB e-prescribing network we call Vela here at First Data Bank. Been here for about 7 years, and this is like my 4th time at help.
Amazing. Can you describe a little bit about the product in that? You said it was a database. It was a person. Can you describe the product a little bit more? What is your technology and the differentiator that you have?
Absolutely, yeah. So Vela is a full end-to-end e-prescribing network.
Yeah.
So we take prescriptions from the EHR systems that we partner with, or health systems, and we route those onto the appropriate pharmacy based upon the patient's direction.
Amazing. That connection between care to pharmacy to home is like such an important last mile. How does Vela ensure outcomes and results for both your customers and their patients?
Great. So FDB has been around for many years. We are a staple in healthcare. We have large amounts of customers using our database services that include the drug-to-drug interactions, the drug-allergy interactions, patient safety focus there. And we essentially help a provider write a good script. Now, we used to just stop there.
So it's not handwriting?
Those are the good old days.
I just aged us. Sorry.
Now it's digitized. We help with decision support. And in 2022, we launched Vela because we not only wanted to help create the prescription, we wanted to deliver it and bring new value in that part of the market, which includes bringing value to pharmacies, PBMs, as well as providers.
Amazing. Let's actually turn to the innovator now. I'm curious, what was your origin story? What was your foundation that got you started working in innovative technologies and how that?
It's exciting because I'm a huge patient advocate. I always have been, and especially over the last 15 years, I would say, I've been really focused and dedicated on doing just that.
Do you do that through like messaging, through apps? Like what is the connection? What is the sort of technology to customer connection look like?
So FDB Vela is a network. No one should know who we are, but what we do is we enable applications. There are so many outstanding applications available in the market that do really good at what they do.
And the database is your data and your understanding of the network and that back end then allows those tools to.
Correct. We safely enable apps to, so I'll give you a quick example. Today, when we all go to the doctor, we're all healthcare tech professionals, but we're patients. Right. So when I go to the provider and she asks me, where would you like a prescription sent? I don't know other than what my habit is, like the pharmacy by my house. And then when I get to the pharmacy, I'm hoping for 2 things. 1, the script actually got there. It hasn't gotten there sometimes. And 2, it's not going to cost me an arm and a leg, but I go in blind. I don't know what it's going to cost me.
I'll add a third one. I take ADHD medicines. Okay. So is it at that pharmacy?
Is there?
Drug there.
That's right. That's another whole area we could talk about too. So what Vela has basically done is that rather than tell my doctor, send it to this pharmacy, what I can say is send it to XYZ app. We work with lots of different apps. We have one called RX Wallet as an example. I can say, you know what, just send my prescription to RX Wallet. The provider in their workflow in their EHR is going to type in RX Wallet and it's going to be there because it's on the Vela network. What we do is the prescription goes to the Vela network, gets held securely, doesn't move, and we have an API to RX Wallet. And RX Wallet then engages the patient. It's the details of the prescription. The patient can start shopping, looking at pricing information, looking at where the record locator and figure out what if the drug's there actually at that pharmacy and can I get it today? And then at that point, the pharmacy, the patient selects it. It tells Vela where to deliver it, and we deliver it on as a new RX. So the patient's included in that whole process.
So those apps and those referrals then app like a concierge almost to do that last mile of translating the data, translating the complexity into something that it can.
Exactly, because we all get confused with our benefits. Do I use my drug benefit for this, or should I pay cash and get a better rate? Like, we don't know. And so having that all in front of us is so important, because I'll tell you one thing that we're really good at as Americans. We can shop online. So why can't I get my prescription, look at it, shop, and then select where I want it billed?
Absolutely. Amazing. Let's turn to the show a little bit. Let's go a little high level. Thank you for that deep dive. We're at Health, and the show is the Tech Glow Up. I'm curious, what's the glow up or transformation you're looking to see in the healthcare industry at large?
So what I've really enjoyed talking about this health conference is around redundancy. One thing that really concerns me about healthcare is that in 2024, as an example, we had over 720 data breaches in healthcare tech. That's reported.
You only report the ones you have to.
Exactly. That's almost 2 a day that we in healthcare tech, all the companies here, are experiencing at some level. I'm concerned about areas within healthcare that we are single-threaded. And so I really like the idea of glowing up our redundancy in healthcare so that if one network goes down, there's another one that can very quickly send that prescription electronically. That's one thing that we're lacking in healthcare today. And I'm sure e-prescribing is not the only single-threaded area, right? There are some cases where there's claim processing, which slows down revenue cycle, and there's all sorts of issues, but I'm more focused on the patient safety aspect to it, because if our data is being accessed or we're being breached and someone's doing ransomware on us, it literally could stop e-prescribing flowing altogether, and pharmacies would not be able to keep up to manage the prescription fulfillment that patients need.
Do you have a preferred method to achieve that kind of redundancy and uptime?
I think it comes down to this. If you are a CMIO or you're a CTO of any organization, and you're looking at all of your internal as well as your external connections to maintain your business, to me, you look for all the single-threaded ones and fix that. Add a secondary, add backup, add redundancy. And I think if everyone just from a very basic level looked at their businesses that way, there's so many options out there to introduce that the market could take advantage of.
I feel like I'm about to ask an uninformed question because I don't know a whole lot about redundancy in healthcare, but I do know, I actually have an artist friend who recently was like in the studio, had some tracks they were really excited about. And so they were saving them onto multiple hard drives.
Okay.
So that you already know where I'm going, right? Saving it to multiple hard drives so that they'd be really super safe. And in the process, ended up deleting the files. Also, in an age of phishing and of hacking, just like we might have redundant systems for our data, there's incredibly redundant risks for people getting into my parents' email accounts.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about how you balance redundancy and safety and redundancy and accuracy?
That's a really good question. I'll look at it this way. An individual organization may have redundancy in the sense that they have an east and a west redundancy network-wise, right? From a platform perspective. You're using AWS, you're using Microsoft. You're going to have redundancy. If one area goes down, you can switch it to the other, right? But if a hacker gets in and holds that ransom,
this feels differently.
It doesn't matter. So a great example is Change Healthcare last year. When Change Healthcare was breached, it was a ransomware situation. They did not have access to their own network for months to even do anything. It was literally shut down. So redundancy, it can mean two things. You within yourself can have redundancy, but it also means, what if one organization completely goes down like a Change Healthcare? Is there another avenue or solution I can be using as well to ensure that if one goes down, I can switch to the other, vice versa?
Yeah. With AI, with quantum computing, with personalized medications, how do you get people's attention on redundancy?
The good thing is it's finally happening. And fortunately, I think it's our human nature. It took a Change Healthcare situation to get the attention.
Oh, okay.
We had been talking
We're learning
about
a lot
this.
lately.
Sometimes we learn the hard way. Vela was launched in 2022. We had been telling the market, listen, there's another network now available where you can have redundancy, and then Change Healthcare happen. And we are suddenly seeing an immense uptick. And okay, maybe we need to be more proactive on this. And that's how Vela's growing. I think one of the reasons Vela's growing so much right now is with connecting to all of our EHR partners, all of our pharmacies, all our health systems, is because they're really starting to see that.
Amazing. So let's take this reflection and this blow up a little bit more internally. Looking at FDB and your work with Vela, what's the 6-month blow up that you're looking to make for your organization?
Right. Yeah. Well, you mentioned AI. That is like the biggest buzz going on right now within any technology forum. We at Vela are focused on the very same things, and a lot of it comes down to internal tools and AI tools to improve our own processes and our own tools for our customers. But we're really focused right now too on leveraging AI over the next 6 months to look for any anomaly detections within our network. So bad actors of prescribers. We're trying to cut down on fraud, waste, and abuse in that regard. So that's one of our key focuses right now.
Interesting. When you just stopped my brain, I mean, the idea of like fraud or bad acting prescribers really just shows there are so many facets to the data that really, like, I'm thinking from a patient, from what's my prescription, but there's all of these layers of data and signal that you're collecting by being that connector.
It's true. No, that's a really good point. And I think sometimes we rely so much on like the EHR is going to cover it and they're going to do all their bells and whistles, and that's all well and good. But we want to make sure at the network level that we're able to police that as well.
Yeah. And then having those sorts of signals and early detection buoys out in the world, then obviously it gives you additional signals that you can provide value back to those partners.
Exactly.
And who wouldn't want to know when you got a hot spot in Detroit of some weird activity that you'd want to shut down quickly? Amazing. So the show's theme this year is Heroes and Legends, and I'm using it as an opportunity to ask innovators about the heroes and legends and mentors that have impacted their journey. I'm curious, in this context of being at health, who are the mentors and heroes that have helped you on your way?
There have been so many really great mentors, and I think in healthcare that have really paved the way for us. I do have to go to the broader picture around. You look at someone like Steve Jobs, right, who is just one of my personal heroes. What he really brought to us as humanity has enabled so much for us to do. I think what I want to focus on is continuing to follow that path in terms of disruption, being very aggressive and driving and pushing new technologies, new opportunities, because I think we have and I hate to say it as healthcare, but it's just true. We seem to rest on our laurels a little bit. We're usually a little slow with technology, but I really feel like we're at that chasm of leveraging AI to where it's going to help healthcare move quite quicker, which is my hope, my goal.
You hit on a theme that I've heard. I'm actually a little bit surprised to hear, and I think you've said it the most gently by describing it as we're reaching a chasm. But at least 3 other leaders that I've talked to in the last day mentioned straight up paradigm change in some of these systems that are keeping healthcare from catching up to the moment. For you, is it all AI, or is AI like the easiest lever to grab when we're looking at workforce, when we're looking at aging, when we're looking at changing regulation and government? Like, this is totally off script.
No, this is great. So I think the technology level AI is what's really important, and it's going to help us.
Yeah.
We have a business problem. We have a business model problem in healthcare. We lack transparency. And I think the way that we've viewed benefit is also something that holds us back. The sooner we can say, look, open it up for more patient choice, more transparency, not steering and driving so much for rebates and other things. The more we can focus on that and the quicker we can get past it, it's going to be so much better for all of us.
I was trying to give it a little bit of space. Sometimes, like, the idea is so big, I jump on it.
Sure.
Did we actually, I asked you a follow-up question to your heroes question. Was Steve Jobs enough? Was that?
He was enough.
Okay.
Yes.
Steve, you're enough.
Thank you.
Amazing. Did we get to everything that you were hoping to share?
I think so. A great conversation. We talked a lot about redundancy, price transparency, and consumer choice, and those are our key focuses right now.
Okay. Let me wrap us out. Give us a little bit of an outro.
Great.
My brain, it must be like time for a sweet snack.
Yes.
Lathe, thank you so much for joining me on the Health Tech Glow Up. I honestly learned some big new things about redundancy and the networks that go into bringing my pharmacy orders to my door. It's such a pleasure to meet you on the Health Tech Glow Up.
Thanks for having me, Nathan. I appreciate it.
Amazing.
Pleasure.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
I love it. Great job.